According to motorsport.com, the estimated cost of Williams' damage in 2024 was over $14 million. And now this is the total figure that also includes replaced engine components that were worn out, on top of the crash damage that was caused by the drivers. It won't surprise you to know that Williams is comfortably the #1 team when it comes to damages incurred, but to put this into perspective, on the other end of the spectrum we have McLaren, which was the team which incurred the smallest damage total at just under $2.5 million, which makes sense because not only did Lando not have a single reliability related DNF, but Oscar Piastri also became only the 4th driver in Formula 1 history to finish every single racing lap of the season. And now, when it comes to the crash damage that was caused by all of their drivers, that figure is estimated to be at $12.1 million. In terms of how that is split between their drivers, Logan Sargent, who entered 15 races, accounted for just over $3 million, Franco Colapinto, who did the remaining 9 races, accounts for $4.4 million, and Alex Albon, who did all 24 races, accounts for the remaining total of almost $4.7 million. Going a little bit more in depth, in terms of their per race crash damage total, which takes into account how many races they did, Albon's total was just under $200,000 per race, Sargent was just over $200,000 per race, and Colapinto was just under $500,000 per race. What's quite interesting is that when it comes to Franco Colapinto, this is something that I talked about when I included him in my top 5 worst drivers of the season video, and people absolutely slated me for it. Now, contrary to what those comments said, I have absolutely nothing against Franco. In terms of speed, he showed some amazing flashes of potential, but even despite and taking into account his lack of experience, when you're judging drivers objectively, then the damage cost that he incurred for Williams, which was double that of Sargent, has to be something that counts against him, especially when you race for a team that is literally struggling with crash damage as it is. And now, even though these figures are only estimates, they're still fairly reliable estimates that give us a ballpark figure. James Vowles himself admitted that the Brazilian Grand Prix weekend alone, in which both of his drivers crashed in qualifying, with Colapinto also then crashing in the race as well, cost the team over $3 million. And that is just one race out of 24. This was also coming off the back of a nightmare weekend in Mexico, in which the team sustained yet more damage. Speaking about both of the races back to back, James Vowles said, "You are into the millions. Less than 10, but more than 3. It's big numbers when you calculate where we are at the moment. The sustained damage we had across Mexico and Brazil, I hadn't experienced anything like that in 25 years of working in the sport. To have 5 major accidents in 2 races that took out 5 front wings, 5 floors, 5 rear wings, 3 gearboxes, 2 engines and 2 chassis, an amount that you just can't believe." And now, to clarify, both Alex Albon and James Vowles during the season were quick to say that even though ultimately crashes do fall on the feet of the driver, and they are the ones who have to bear the brunt of responsibility, the Williams has not been an easy car to drive, and whilst that's not an excuse, it is no coincidence that all of these drivers have been crashing in that car as much as they have. Williams came into this season with an entirely new concept of car, which Albon even early in the season said required a change in driving style. However, the car was massively overweight at the beginning of the year, and the team since the start of the season has struggled to balance having to manufacture replacement parts for all of the damage that has been caused, on top of having to develop and manufacture new parts to help bring performance. Out of all of the drivers, I think Logan Sargent was a separate case because he was crashing just as much in 2023 as he was in 2024. Logan was just a worst case scenario, a driver whose confidence was absolutely shot, a driver who knew that the team didn't trust him, and on top of that, he also had to try to make something work every single weekend in an uncompetitive car that was also difficult to drive. Albon and Colapinto, on the other hand, I think are quality drivers. I really like the kick up the backside that Colapinto gave to Albon because there's no doubt that Alex over the past couple of years has gotten maybe a little bit too comfortable with people like Latifi and Sargent as his teammates, and Franco coming in and being as fast and aggressive on track as he was, I think was really exciting to watch, and there is no doubt that he made Alex a little bit flustered with his speed. Despite the disappointing season that Williams had, the fact that they managed to sign and entice a driver as good as Carlos Sainz still doesn't seem real to me. However, the irony of all ironies is that whilst I am sure that the team will have much less crash damage in 2025 by virtue of a much better driver lineup, Carlos Sainz statistically is not exactly the cleanest driver on the grid. In fact, if you look at the top 5 drivers in terms of crash damage, not only do you have the 2 Williams drivers who ended the season in 2nd and 3rd, you've also got the brand new 2025 Williams driver in 5th. The signing of Carlos Sainz off the back of a season in which the most memorable thing about Williams is how many times their drivers crashed during the season is massively significant, however. This team for years has had some of the worst drivers on the grid driving for them, and while sometimes it's been a financial necessity, it's always felt like this has stunted the team's potential and blocked them from breaking out of the midfield. With Carlos coming in, this now looks like a much more serious Formula 1 team with an even more serious driver lineup that is arguably better than what this team deserves given its results. Last season really feels like an inflection point for Williams, and the crash damage total that they incurred across their 3 drivers is just the biggest example of that. From here on out, even Alex Albon is going to have to raise his game, because if he crashes anywhere near as much as he did in 2024, and then also gets comprehensively outperformed by Sainz in 25, then even his future is going to come into question. James Vowles coming into Williams has been all about raising the standards, whether that's getting a better driver lineup on track or modernizing the team off track after years of lagging behind. After a nightmare 24 season, 25 with his chosen drivers is now going to be the very first test of what the new James Vowles Williams might be able to do in the future. Well, there you have it. If you did enjoy this video and want to support the channel, then don't forget to subscribe, that would be massively appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.